Bernie Sanders went on Mehdi Hasan's new podcast called Deconstructed. It's a podcast that's run by the Intercept. And Mehdi's typically really good at, you know, when he does interviews with people, he's done some great interviews where he, like, holds their feet to the fire. He's spoken to U.S. generals and, you know, held them accountable for civilian deaths. And he's, you know, done what journalists are basically supposed to do, but they never do. So he's done a really good job in some respects. Here he is just kind of chatting with Bernie Sanders. And Bernie went after the media. Let's watch.
One statistic I came across recently made my head spin. The Tyndall report looked at nightly news broadcasts in 2016, election year. They found a mere 32 minutes was devoted over 2016 to substantive policy issues. Most of those minutes were on foreign policy and terrorism. 0 minutes on poverty, 0 on inequality, 0 on infrastructure, 0 on climate change. Isn't that a disgrace?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And unless we understand that, you can't understand why Donald Trump is president of the United States. You can't understand why most people in America are giving up on the political process. We have the lowest voter turnout of any major country on earth. So we have got to raise political consciousness in a way that the corporate media has never gone near.
You mentioned Donald Trump. It's not just issues that are kind of censored by emission. It's people. And you've been one of those people in recent years who's been kind of quote unquote excluded. Again, another study found in 2015, Hillary Clinton got 6 times as much coverage as you did. Donald Trump got 16 times as much coverage as you did. One study of ABC World News Tonight found that Trump got 81 minutes of coverage in 2015 and you got 20 seconds.
Did we get 20 seconds?
Wow.
Must have been a mistake. 20 seconds.
What did you say then? What were the 20 seconds that you said? I mean...
none of this shocks me.
Yeah.
Look, none of this shocks me. I mean, right now you'll have Stormy Daniels, or whatever her name was, getting far more coverage than the fact that the middle class of this country has been declining for 40 years. Look, there are a couple of reasons. Guess what? The corporate media is owned by large corporations. I know this is a shocking statement.
Hence the name.
But that is the reality. What is their function? Their function is to make money. And also their function is to protect their own interest. Do you think the people who own the major corporations, whether it's media or elsewhere, want to talk about income and wealth inequality, want to talk about disastrous trade policies, want to talk about Wall Street? That's not the issue they want to talk about. They want to keep us entertained. And in fact, in many ways, they want to deflect attention away from issues that might bring around real substantive changes in this country politically and economically.
You know, is it just me? Am I blinded by how much I like this guy, or is his message getting sharper as he moves forward? I feel like his message is getting even sharper and crisper and is landing even more. And, you know, bar any disastrous circumstance, he's the next president of the United States. I mean, that's how it strikes me. And, I mean, some of those facts there are just absolutely mind-blowing. 0 questions on poverty, infrastructure, or climate change. 0 questions on poverty, infrastructure, or climate change in the debates. That's incomprehensible. But that's what you get when you have a mainstream corporate media structure that is disconnected from the people, and they have a poor incentive structure. So it's not that, like, you know, it's conspiratorial. It's that it's an open conspiracy because it's just a matter of incentives aligning. So there's a reason why a guy like Wolf Blitzer gets 1,000 hours on CNN in the middle of the day. Because Wolf Blitzer was the one who they promote through that system, and they give him a top spot. Why would they give a guy like Wolf Blitzer, who's really boring, a top spot? Because he's not going to rock the boat. He's not going to question the fundamental assumptions and you know, the underpinnings of society. And he's not going to say, hey, maybe the whole way we're doing this is bullshit, and maybe there's just a plethora of evidence to back up the fact that you know, our system is broken and it's screwing over regular people. He's never going to rock the boat. He's never going to question in any serious way. So you put a guy like Wolf Blitzer on TV for 1,000 hours because he's safe. Because he's safe, and he'll do your establishment talking points. He'll tell you what the Democrats say. He'll tell you what the Republicans say. And there's also a strong underlying implication there that anything that's coloring outside of those lines is you can just... It's called the Overton window. It's the spectrum of thoughts that are thinkable. And if you're not thinking inside that rigid spectrum, that very corporatist, neoliberal, neoconservative spectrum, well, then you're a crazy person and you're outside of the realm of respectable debate and discourse. And that's why a guy like, Wolf Blitzer is in the position he's in. That's why a guy like Anderson Cooper is in the position he's in. Remember, everybody was mocking him back during the debates. Why? Because all he would do is, what's your favorite CD? He was asking ridiculous questions like that. And then he'd toss it in with, stupid questions not related to issues, but maybe related to personalities. Like, oh, Mr. Trump, Ted Cruz said this, this, and this about you. What do you say to that? So this is all, they dumbed down the debate on purpose. And it's dumbed down because the corporate overlords in this mainstream media structure are only going to, promote the people who are not going to rock the boat and who are not going to, question things in a serious way. And that's how you end up with a situation where there are zero questions on poverty, infrastructure, or climate change. Isn't that crazy? I mean, really? Those are 3 incredibly serious issues. You could argue 3 of the most serious issues, literally. But nope, no questions on them. And then Clinton gets 6 times more coverage. Trump gets 16 times more coverage. ABC News covered Bernie Sanders for a total of 20 seconds. And Bernie's like, listen, I'm not surprised by that. Why is he not surprised by that? Well, listen, when you're nothing but issues focused, that's a yawn fest to corporate media. Now, I'm of the belief that you give, regular people policy substance, and they actually go, shit, yeah, this is real. This is resonating with me, which is why Bernie Sanders went from virtually nobody supporting him to winning 47% of the vote and 22 primaries and caucuses against the biggest political machine that ever existed, and already an A-list celebrity. And that's with the entire mainstream media biased against them, and DNC rigging it against him. So he had everything going against him, but he did well. But yes, the corporate media structure is designed to do establishment talking points, and then the other part of the time, do sensationalism. So that's why Trump, they gave him 16 times more coverage. To be fair, a lot of that was negative coverage. But either way, there's no such thing as bad press. Because what happens is the mainstream media shits on Trump in such a tacky way, like they're like, oh, he cursed, oh, his language is unacceptable. Literally, this is a main argument that they were making. That what are we going to tell the kids? So that actually helped them. So they did 16 times more coverage. A lot of the coverage was negative, but it net helped them. And the coverage of Hillary Clinton was mostly positive, glowing coverage. Oh my God, how serious she is, how bipartisan she is, how, she's a woman, it's her turn, and stuff like that. So that's why you have way more coverage to them. Bernie Sanders had a giant bias against him, but it's to be expected from this kind of a corporate media structure that a guy like Bernie gets left behind, gets very little coverage. They don't focus on the policy substance or the issues, and all Bernie talks about are those issues. But that's why the internet really, really fell in love with Bernie Sanders. And that's why, listen, not to toot my own horn here, but the success of this show is a direct result of the abject failure of mainstream corporate media. There's no way you guys would, if they were doing a half-decent job in mainstream media, you wouldn't have found this show or given a fuck what a ranting guy on YouTube says, because you're getting actual information from a source that you think is respectable and is proving themselves to be respectable. If they were really discussing serious issues on CNN or MSNBC. But no, like Bernie said, all you get is Stormy Daniels, in his inequality town hall. Even Michael Moore pointed out, Russia, Russia, Russia all day long. My favorite non-argument is the obsession over the high turnover in Trump's administration. On the list of shit that pisses you off about Trump, where would that fall? For me, it's about number 1,362. I can point to a million policies where it's like, whoa, that's fucked up. They don't discuss that. Oh my God, another person let go from his administration. Oh, scandal. But you have to use arguments that are persuasive to people. So if, for example, Bernie Sanders was president and he had high turnover, I'd file that under who gives a shit? Who cares? So why do you think that's like a gotcha against Trump? Like, ooh, that's not on the list of shit that really should be focused on, but that's all they focus on. Russia, Stormy Daniels, high turnover, and it actually ends up helping Trump. So Bernie's message is getting sharper. Hopefully he gets more coverage the next time he runs. If he does, look out.